Welcome to the We Want More podcast. Today we have a great episode lined up with our guest Emily Bradshaw. Before we get in today's episode, this episode is brought to you by Ticonderoga Pencils, the world's best pencil. Don't forget you can use the code We Want More at checkout to receive 15% off. That's again Ticonderoga Pencils, the world's best pencil. Today we have a great lineup about educational technology. We're going to be talking about the benefits, the positives, the negatives. If we should use this education technology as a use of punishment, what kind of data can we track and progress, and what new technologies are currently out or are we learning? So again, I'm the host. Our guest today is Emily Bradshaw. Emily, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily Bradshaw. I am a fifth grade social studies teacher at Middlesboro Middle School. I'm going into my second year and I love what I teach.
So Emily, with fifth graders, what kind of technology do you use or you think special about your school? Because they are little kids. However, kids are born with the iPads these days, are they not?
I think they are. But with Middlesboro Middle School, we have just received a grant through Verizon Technology. And every student in our middle school, so fifth through eighth grade, has received their own Chromebook. Now, this Chromebook they can take home, they have their own charger. It is their own personal Chromebook. The positive thing about this is we know that not all students have the access to Wi Fi, but these Chromebooks have data in them so they can be doing their assignments as they're driving down the road or have access to it at home, whether they have Wi Fi or not.
And that's the biggest thing about technology is having kids be able to have access to them. And with you all partnering through Verizon, you all are enabling them a way to, oh, well, you don't have Wi-Fi at home. Here's a opportunity for you all to actually have Wi-Fi in your homes. I know during the beginning of COVID, I was an educator at the time. I don't know if you were,
I was not.
but we had a lot of problems of kids that, well, they did not have access to Wi-Fi. Therefore, we were having to make assignments online and make paper copies for hundreds of kids that, again, did not have Wi-Fi. So, why don't you tell me about some of the technology that you specifically use in your classroom?
Well, I have not necessarily a smart board, but it's kind of like a big TV that has Wi Fi connected to
Yeah,
it.
we is it an Averboard?
Yeah, I have an
Yeah.
Aver board. Thank you. And I use that every day, whether that is showing YouTube videos, pulling up my PowerPoints, or just allowing kids to see a timer that helps them with their work. But the students use their Chromebooks daily, whether it be in my classroom or in another class as well. We use variety of different resources. Like we love to use iExcel in fifth grade. We can track their data and their progress to see if they are catching on to a concept or not. We also use Vocabulary, which is a fun video with reading and response, quizzes, things that the students can kind of get engaged to instead of listening to a teacher lecture for however long they decide to lecture. We also use different programs to track data, such as STAR. So they take that test 3 times a year. And that way we can monitor their progress in math and reading as well to see how if they grow, if they don't grow, and what teachers can do to help them progress through that.
Well, that was my next question. I was going to ask how does STAR program help these students, but you kind of explained it there. I wanted to ask, so you said you use technology every day. Are they constantly on Chromebooks, or do you have them on and off, cycling on and off, maybe half the class on Chromebooks, half the time off? What's your routine about usage of, technology in the classroom?
I do not let students use their Chromebooks every day or for the whole class period. I usually allow them, we do Google Forms as a bell ringer. So they'll come in and I'll say, all right, guys, log on to Google Classroom and go ahead and complete the bell ringer on Google Forms. And normally the bell ringer is anywhere from like 2 to 5 questions, should not take them more than 10 minutes. And that way that allows me to go on my end and see if these students are grasping the concept or not pretty quickly without having to grade a huge amount of papers. I don't use it every day. I know a lot of teachers do. I know
I'm one of those teachers.
You're one of those teachers. Now, our science teacher, where she does not have a set curriculum with science, where she's not tested in fifth grade, she does allow her students to use their Chromebooks every day. She pulls a lot of her materials to where students can use their Chromebooks.
I got you. And then you said you use Star as a way to kind of or track data, and you said you use Google Forms. Is there anything else you use that helps you track data?
Well, since social studies does not have a set diagnostic test like math and reading use with STAR, I use Study Island as a diagnostic test where students will go in and complete a 30 question multiple choice test. And so that allows me to see towards the beginning of the year what students already know and how I can really hit the high points and the low points throughout the year when I am covering content.
What about Kahoot? I know kids love, especially the younger kids. How often use something like a Kahoot or a Quizlet or a Quiz?
See, we don't use Kahoot as much as we use Blooket.
Blooket, that's another one, yes.
Because the kids love the Blooket and it gives them the questions, which allows them to add points to whether they are destroying another castle or trying to crypto hack each other. So whether they get the questions right or wrong determines how often they get to participate in the game.
Yeah, my experience with Blooket, kids love making their own icons, which I'm not a big fan when they take my parrot icon. I have to admit, I love using the parrot icon because I play against them sometimes.
See, I like the turtle, and sometimes I will play with them and they not even know it. I will create a secret name and I'll even give them the incentive. I'm like, if I'm playing and you beat me, you will get a special prize. But if you don't, then it just is not in your favor today.
Oh. So I don't know if you know what that sound is, but around here on the We Want More podcast, that is our daily fan email that we get to read. And today's email is from a Sam Creasy. Sam Creasy is a middle school teacher at Barberville Independent School. He teaches social studies. His question says, "Dear Mr. Moore, how can I make technology make a bigger impact for student success?" Do you want to elaborate first on that?
I think with student success and technology comes hand in hand, especially when we're using STAR or Study Island for specific diagnostic and growth tests. It would be a lot easier to track the data online as it would be on paper because it gives students a more accurate result and a quicker result than teachers having to go through grade papers, give the feedback that is necessary to them.
And I'm right there with you. I use Google Forms for every kind of quiz test I give, just because I get the immediate feedback. It does make my job easier. I'm not going to lie. However, there's a lot of stuff you can do with Google Forms, Kahoots, your Blookets. You can transfer over the questions, the answers with a click of a button. You can do so in an Excel sheet. It just makes the lives of us easier. But now the question I want to ask you is, how difficult is it to balance both technology and maybe a student that's not that well at technology, they cannot use it as well, they have an IEP that hinders them from being able to achieve using technology?
So we have one class a day called Jacket Block, which is essentially remediation for students. Every student in our fifth grade is in the Jacket Block. And for the first 9 weeks of school, we are actually focusing on getting students to type better. Like we're actually putting them through a typing program through typing.com, which allows them to go step by step on how to type correctly. So this allows even our more Excel students to learn the basics of how to be a better typer, basically. And it allows our students with IEPs or who struggle more with technology to learn the ropes, learn the basics so they can use their technology more efficiently.
And does your school currently have students that still learn at home exclusively? And if so, how do you balance that?
So actually, we have 2 or 3 students who are homebound in the 5th grade. And recently, we have just been posting, I know me and my other teammates as well, we will post assignments onto our Google Classroom. And so the students can access them from home. And especially like with students with absences, if they feel well enough to do their work at home, they can do it before they even come to school to receive their makeup work.
I currently have a student on homebound, and I've found it here recently difficult because I've been having a project where students physically actually use paper and draw on it to create their own country. And I have a student at home that is stuck using a computer, so I'm having troubles here uploading stuff to Google Classroom to make it, equal for her, or make it where it's not easier for her or harder on her. That's the one thing I have found hard to balance with homebound students currently.
I agree. It's difficult to give them the tools and resources that students at school get. I mean, if they have a question, they can raise their hand, and I'm over there quickly to help them. But with homebound, we actually have a homebound instructor who can answer those questions for them. I think they meet like once a week. The homebound instructor and the homebound student will meet once a week on Zoom to allow them to clear up any confusion on the assignments given to them.
Right after this break, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about is technology should be used as a punishment, and if so, how can it be used feasibly in a good way to do so? So we'll take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back.
Hey kids, here come the new Zoo Pals! Tweet, tweet, Zoo Pals. Neigh, neigh, Zoo Pals. Meow, meow, Zoo Pals. Zoo Pals make eating fun. When you clean your plate, then you see their face. Back, back, Zoo Pals. Hop, hop, Zoo Pals. Bloop, bloop, Zoo Pals. Zoo Pals make eating fun. Zoo Pals! Hey!
Welcome back to the We Want More podcast. We have been talking with our good friend Emily Bradshaw about technology, the uses in it, the different programs we have with technology, how we can track data with technology. Now, to end the show, I want to ask, what's your stance on use of technology as a form of punishment, where a kid is being a disruption in class and they get sent home for a week? What is your stance on that?
I think students being sent home for a week because of punishment, sometimes students do not see that as a punishment, which is a whole different topic in itself. Um, I Technology is difficult in using as a punishment with sending kids home because that is the only way they can access their work unless we send paper packets home. Now, if we do not have a proper heads up, per se, when these students are going home for a punishment, we cannot prepare paper packets for them. So it is a lot easier for teachers to upload the work onto Google Classroom. Now, students will still get on their Chromebooks at home, play their games, watch their videos, and do what they want to at home as well as do their work. I prefer, if you're going to send home a student with a punishment, they should be using paper and pencil. But not all kids are feasible and can do their work as easy on pencil and paper as they would a Chromebook.
Right, I see it as a reward, as more of a punishment. I know if I was a kid, living today's time, and that was my punishment, I feel like I would be getting in trouble a whole lot just so I can go home and, you know, not be monitored constantly. Because again, you also need a communication with parents and a trust with parents to work with that as well.
And a lot of students at home do not have the parents' support to make them do their work. And a lot of parents will just get their kids sent home, and the kid will get just to do whatever. And it's not seen as punishment, but as a free vacation from school.
Yeah. And even if the parent is willing to comply, what about the parents that do not have the money or time to stay home or hire a babysitter or get someone to watch their kid that might not be of age yet to be left home alone?
Yeah, it's just a tricky situation with suspension and using Chromebooks, especially with Middlesboro, where students have their own personal Chromebooks. So technically, it is theirs while they are still enrolled in the district. So it's just a sticky situation when it comes to punishment and Chromebooks.
Um, do you have any one last thing you want to say before we sign off here about education and technology? Any last remarks about whatever you use, or you want to advocate for a certain program that you use in your classroom that you think other teachers should try as well?
I think utilizing technology in the classroom is a big tool not only for teachers but for students as well. In this day and age, technology is only going to become more prevalent in our everyday lives, especially with these students now in the 5th grade. They will grow up with technology and technology will evolve. So for them knowing how to use technology now is just a big indicator of how successful they could be in life.
That's right. And technology is changing every day. I remember when COVID first hit, how many new technologies that we were having to learn right off the bat. And I flash forward to where we are now, just 3, 4 years down the road. I'm still learning about new technologies. Technologies I used 3 to 4 years ago are being now outdated. But that's life. Everything changes. Well, I want to thank you again, Emily, for coming on the show. Again, she is a 5th grade social studies teacher at Middlesboro Independent. And hopefully we'll have you on again soon.